When we are young, we believe that love can always wait. But no one warns us that time waits for no one. Pause. The moment I realized I gave the best years of my life to someone who never chose me was the moment that split my story in two. Before the truth, and after it. If you've made it this far, perhaps this story is also in part your own. My name doesn't matter much anymore. What matters are the years, the silences, and the choices I made believing that love would, one day, choose me back. Before we continue, I have a simple request. Subscribe to the Moments That Matter channel. Here, we tell real-life stories, stories that hurt but heal. And if, at any point, you recognize yourself in me, leave a comment. You are not alone. Now, let me go back to the beginning. To the time when I still believed that waiting was a gesture of love. I was young when I met him. I didn't have grand dreams, just simple ones. A quiet house, someone to come home at the end of the day, a life shared in small things. He never promised much. And perhaps that was the first sign I chose to ignore. He would say, "Now is not the time." And I would respond with patience. I would say, "It's okay." I learned early on to adapt, to adjust expectations, to call absence understanding. While my friends moved forward, getting married, building families, I stayed. I always stayed, convinced that true love required waiting. I believed that if I were enough, if I were good, kind, understanding, one day he would choose me. And so, the years began to pass. Without fights, without grand goodbyes, only with vague promises and postponed futures. I smiled in public, but in silence, I was learning how to be the second choice. Back then, I didn't know yet. Waiting is not love when only one side remains frozen in time. Time has a cruel way of passing without making a sound. 1 year turned into 5. 5 turned into 10. And by the time I noticed, my youth no longer recognized me in the mirror. He was always busy, always with something more important. And I, always available. Special dates became just ordinary days. Plans were easily postponed. And I began to shrink myself to fit into the space he left behind. I told myself, he loves me in his own way. But love isn't measured by excuses. And yet, I collected each one as if they were proofs of affection. I learned not to ask, not to complain, not to bother. Because, deep down, I was afraid to hear the truth. Meanwhile, life went on. The world kept turning. And I stayed in the same place, waiting to be chosen. Today, looking back, I see how strong I was. But also how much I forgot about myself. The moment didn't arrive with shouting, nor with immediate tears. It arrived in silence. I was sitting, waiting for a call that never came. It was an important day for me. But for him, it was just another day. It was there, in that simple and painful instant, that something inside me finally woke up. I realized it wasn't a lack of time. It never was. It was a lack of choice. I wasn't a priority. I was a convenience. A comfortable place he returned to when he wanted, never when I needed. In that moment, I didn't cry. I felt something worse, clarity. And clarity hurts. I realized that the best years of my life had been handed over to someone who never truly chose me. Not out of malice, but out of omission. And it was there, in that heavy silence, that I understood that the love making me wait indefinitely was not the love that would make me bloom. While I waited for a love that could never decide, life was happening all around me. I had children, and they grew up seeing me. Tired. I was physically present, but absent inside. Always worried. Always waiting for a call. Always justifying someone who was never there. I taught values with beautiful words, but my example said something else. It said it was normal to nullify yourself, that it was acceptable to wait too much, that love required silence. And that is something that weighs on my heart today. How many times did I tell my children to be strong, while I myself accepted being cast aside? How many times did I teach them to respect others, but didn't show them how to respect themselves. They saw everything: the long pauses, the repeated excuses, the spark fading little by little. At the time, I thought I was protecting my family. Today I understand that, unintentionally, I was teaching my children to normalize absence. And no mother wishes for that. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates in small thoughts. I started to wonder what kind of love my children learned by watching my life. What kind of choices they would make in the future, based on what they saw at home. That question kept me awake at night. I realized that while I waited to be chosen, my children were learning to wait too. To wait for attention. To wait for presence. To wait for a mother who was whole. And that hurt more than any romantic rejection. I don't regret having loved, but I regret having taught, without words. That true love requires too much sacrifice. I wish I had shown them a firmer woman, more aware, more whole. This thought stayed with me for a long time. And it was this thought that started to push me out of the waiting and toward emotional responsibility. Up it was thinking of my children that I began to truly pray. Not asking for someone else to change, but asking for me to change. I said, God, don't let my children repeat my story. It was a simple prayer, but a heavy one. There, I understood that my choice didn't just affect me. It shaped generations. I felt with clarity that God didn't just want to comfort me. He wanted to wake me up. I understood there was still time. Maybe not to rewrite the whole story, but to change the ending. Faith didn't come as immediate relief. It came as responsibility. The responsibility to show my children that love shouldn't hurt, that presence matters, that dignity is non-negotiable. And it was in that prayer, tired, sincere, and late, that I found the strength to do what I never had the courage to do before. When I decided to leave, I didn't just think of myself. I thought of my children's eyes, of what they would learn from that moment on. There was no long argument. There was internal understanding. I needed to leave so they would understand that love is not an eternal wait, and that no one should live as an option. It wasn't easy. There was guilt. There was fear. But there was also something new: self-respect. Over time, I noticed subtle changes. My children looked at me differently, as if they saw a woman who finally stood up. Maybe I wasn't perfect, but I was honest. And that, sometimes, is the best legacy we can leave. Today, if I could go back in time, I would do many things differently. But since I can't, I chose to teach with what I still have. I chose to finish my story in a way that my children can be proud of. As time passed, I realized there were conversations I didn't have when I should have. Not for lack of love, but out of fear. Fear of confusing my children. Fear of looking weak. Fear of admitting that I didn't know how to live any other way. I wanted to protect them from the pain, but I ended up overprotecting my own denial. Today I understand that children don't need perfect mothers. They need real mothers. If I had spoken sooner, maybe I would have taught them that feelings matter, that choices need to be reviewed, that insisting too much can also wound. But life doesn't go back. So I started doing something different. I began to live consistently. I showed through my actions that a woman can stand up even after many years. That it is still possible to change course. That self-love is also an education. Not everything was said, but much was understood. Sometimes, a late example still saves. For a long time, I thought regret would define me forever. But I learned something important. Regret only hurts when it isn't transformed. I cannot change the choices I made, but I can decide what I do with them now. I stopped punishing myself. I stopped reliving every mistake as if it were a sentence. I understood that I did the best I could, with the awareness I had at the time. And that doesn't erase the pain, but it restores dignity. I began to look at my story with more compassion, not as a victim, but as someone who woke up late, and yet, still woke up. My children don't need me to carry eternal guilt. They need me to be whole today. And that is who I chose to be. Present. Aware. At peace. Today, at the stage of life I am in, I think a lot about legacy. Not about possessions, but about values. I want my children to know that it is never too late to choose yourself. That dignity has no age. That faith isn't waiting eternally, it's listening when God calls you to change. If this story reaches someone who is still living in wait, especially a mother, may it serve as an embrace and a gentle warning. You don't need to disappear to keep a family together. You don't need to nullify yourself to be loved. And your children learn more from how you live than from what you say. There is still time. Maybe not for everything, but for the essentials. And that is already a lot. If this story touched you in some way, I want you to know something important. You are not alone. Many women live for years in silence, believing that waiting is a virtue, when, in truth, sometimes it is just the fear of starting over. If today you feel exhaustion, guilt, or doubt, understand, recognizing it is already an act of courage. May you allow yourself to reflect. May you allow yourself to change. May you allow yourself to live with more truth. Subscribe to the Moments That Matter channel. Here, we share stories that don't judge, they embrace. Stories that hurt, but heal. And if you are a mother, a daughter, or someone who recognized yourself in this journey, leave a comment. Your story might be the comfort someone else needs today. Sometimes, all it takes to change a life is realizing there is still time to do things differently.